And welcome to episode 68 of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm one of your two hosts for today, Sean, editor-in-chief of the site, and I'm joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Hey, everybody.
I didn't have my mic perfectly adjusted, so excuse the squeaking. How are you doing this week, Todd?
I'm good.
Good. Whoa, okay, that was interesting. Just as we started, I see a message that Roku has just announced a new $25 streaming device.
Is that the SE?
I don't know. I'm opening it up. Yeah, the Roku SE.
Black Friday discount.
Yeah, $25. Wow. That's a bargain. Anyway, well, that was unplanned.
This show is more and more not brought to you by Roku. It's really not. Cool.
Well, you know, Roku reached out to me the other day and wanted us to talk about the BlackBerry Priv. So yeah, that's going to be where we're going to start this week, is talking a little bit about the BlackBerry Priv. Now, as always, let me put the disclaimer in that this is not our official review. That is coming in the coming days.
Yeah.
But Todd, you've gotten to spend some time with the BlackBerry Priv. Is it the savior BlackBerry needs?
That's the thing. I don't think we can go that far, because I don't think any one phone's going to save any company. I think it's going to take a lot more than that. But it's a really great phone so far. I've run into some issues, so I'm holding it up for people that are just listening to the audio. I've run into some issues with software, but I'm working with BlackBerry on that. Some of the software has been early, so you might have seen that in other reviews. And some of the issues I've run into, this is an AT&T unit. I actually bought it myself in an AT&T store. Some of the issues I've run into have not been present on the review device that has newer software, which is kind of weird, because it's like, well, this is the one shipping to consumers, why doesn't it have the latest? But I assume maybe going through AT&T. But the bugs aren't terrible. What I've run into are some stalls here and there. I can even show everybody one on a calendar. When I go to switch default calendar, it crashes every time. So it's so, I can replicate every single time.
The screen's washed out, right? Unfortunately. Yeah.
So it crashes every single time. And I'm going to talk to BlackBerry support today, actually, to try to get to the bottom of that. Keyboard's really nice. Android's great on it. Yeah, I don't want to spoil the review, but I don't think you'll be upset if you buy it.
Now, if you could hold it up again for a second, can you slide out the keyboard? I really haven't seen anyone actually do that.
Screen brightness too, but here it just pops up like that. Real nice hinge interface.
And how is the keyboard?
Keyboard's great. I've actually gotten used to typing on it already, which is weird, because I haven't really gotten used to that in a long time, aside from when we do our BlackBerry reviews. So it's different. I chat a lot with my friends, and I've forced myself to use the keyboard instead of the digital one. But the digital one's pretty good too. The on-screen keyboard, touch sensitive. What else? I really like the back. It's like this soft. They call it like a glass weave. It's just kind of grippy. It feels almost like rubbery. So soft touch back. The speakers are pretty good, nothing crazy, but that's what runs along the whole bottom here. So I'm showing that to Sean right now. And then expandable storage is also awesome. If you listen to the show, I really like that. So it has that. So I put in a 128 gig card in addition to the 32 that comes preloaded on it. Yeah, a lot to like so far. My only complaints are, like I said, it gets a little buggy. The screen doesn't get as bright as I would prefer it to. I'm used to these Galaxy S6 and G4 and iPhones and stuff, so they get really bright. And then that's pretty much it, without giving away the whole thing. I don't want to. You talk about the camera, it's a little slow, but it might be a bug too.
Well, we have a question here from Jeff K. Do you think the price justifies what you are getting with the Priv? We can get our hands on such awesome phones out there for cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really hard question to answer. And it actually has been sort of very difficult now that we've talked about this too with our reviews. As we dive in, we're looking at phones that cost $500, like the Nexus 6P. That's a really great phone. And then you're like, well, this is $740 after taxes. That's another $240. Is it worth it? Well, no, probably not. But for folks who want a BlackBerry, and I was talking to John about this yesterday, and he brought this up, and it's a really good point. For folks who want a BlackBerry and have wanted Android on a BlackBerry, all this time and have said, I can't wait for that, then this is the phone for you. You should buy it. They've finally done it. Stick to your guns. You've been asking for it. And yeah, it's a little expensive, but I think it does a really good job of delivering Android and the BlackBerry experience that people really like. And in terms of the keyboard, folks who want BlackBerry 10 obviously probably don't want an Android phone. So I think in regards to that, they didn't skip, any corners here. I think they did the best job they could, and I think it shows. I think I'll end up recommending it in my review. The only issue, like I was saying, is that there are some early bugs that I've seen on my unit. I assume other AT&T users are seeing some of the similar bugs, but hopefully those are fixed.
Well, we got a couple more questions here about the Priv from Brazen Franco. Is the battery removable?
It is not. So the entire, I can't even try to take it off, but the entire body here, the back, is one unit that can't be kind of opened up. So you just work with the SIM card and expandable storage on the top, as opposed to removing off a back cover or something like that.
And from Cam Door, does the slider seem like it will hold up for 2 years?
Yeah, it does. It feels really sturdy, like we used to see on the BlackBerry Torch and stuff. I don't know if you, like me, probably did this a lot. I'm clicking it back and forth. It feels really, really sturdy. The only thing is that it kind of creaks a little bit when you're holding it sort of like this. I can feel, that it's not one solid unit. And when I was talking to John about that yesterday, we both agreed that, it's probably what comes with the territory of having that slider. I mean, you have moving parts, so it's a little creaky, but it feels pretty good. And I think it'll hold up.
Cool. I look forward to finally playing with one. I have no burning desire to run out and buy one, but I'll gladly play with one.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, the keyboard's not for everybody, and that's the thing. Well, then, no, it's not. Don't go spend $740 on it just because of what it is. There are better phones out there if you don't care about a BlackBerry or a keyboard. But if you want a BlackBerry that runs Android and has a keyboard, this is a really good phone for that, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes total sense. And there aren't that many Androids anymore with keyboards. I mean, there were a few that tried here or there, but it never really seemed to take off. But with the BlackBerry brand name, that's a lot of what you're purchasing is the keyboard.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, the other topic we wanted to touch on this week was T-Mobile's Un-carrier 10 announcement that was made yesterday at the LA Shrine Auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
If I see one more person complain about the fact, oh, it's only 480p.
I think it's a fair complaint, though.
I know. Don't.
The thing is, and I agree. The Verge had a post on this. I agree. It's a very dangerous place to be going, where you're talking about free content and getting people on board with approved content that crosses your wires, and limiting the resolution of that content. And I get it. There are people who are going to be like, oh, it's free, it's awesome. And I see where you're coming from. There's also a terribly scary thing out there where they're limiting the possibility of these providers. Netflix, YouTube, well, YouTube's not even included. Netflix, HBO Go, all these other providers, they're capable of sending 1080p 4K content through these signals. And yet it's still being put down to 480p. That's what scares me. And I don't care if it's free. Because I buy a great phone with a great screen, and I'm going to pay for the data, and I want the best content coming through it. I don't want 480p. And I wouldn't, that's why this plan for me doesn't mean much.
Here's the bizarre example of where I'm coming from. I'm currently something I've always wanted to do because I remember it as a child and it's considered a classic, and everyone cites it. I've been going back and watching All in the Family from episode 1.
Nice.
I've finished 5 seasons now. I'm watching them on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
They're at 480p on a 70-inch 4K television. And yeah, it's not, crystal clear, but it's totally watchable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it was shot at. That's, the transfers they have. That's fine. I'm fine with that. If I'm just burning through a TV show, I'm fine with 480p. I see what you're saying. There are some questions about who's the gatekeeper to the content. I get that.
That's what worries me.
Yeah, that part I totally get. But at the same time, for instance, Roku, once again, we're not sponsored by Roku. There are hidden channels on Roku. They're pretty much break down into 2 categories, or 3 categories, I'd say. Either illegal content in the form of it's rebroadcasting something that they're not allowed to rebroadcast.
Mm-hmm.
Pornography, because Roku doesn't want pornography on the Roku.
Mm-hmm.
And number 3 being their video quality isn't up to Roku standards. One of my favorite channels is NHK from Japan, which is broadcast completely in English, but their video quality is not the best at times.
Mm-hmm.
So should we be angry at Roku for being a gatekeeper and not allowing NHK onto the device because it doesn't live up to their video qualities?
No, because it's not a service provider. It's a box that connects to a service. So it connects to your internet connection that's offered up by Comcast or whoever. The worry,
I can see what you're saying there.
The thing that I worry about is this sets a precedent for people to say, for T-Mobile to eventually say, okay, here's free binge on, and you get these services. But if you pay, and this sets a precedent, I didn't say this is happening now, but if you pay more, $2 more a month, let's say, you can get 1080p unlimited. Or you pay a little bit more, we'll give you 4K unlimited. Now that's where you're starting to get into a scary territory of saying, pay more for better quality, even though it's fully capable of serving that up to you right now. T-Mobile is like, here's the hypocritical thing that happened yesterday, and I should write an editorial on it. T-Mobile is standing on stage saying, we have the best network out there, Verizon, AT&T, get out of here, who cares? It's awesome, don't worry about speeds. And then they say, here's unlimited video, but 480p. As if they're not confident in their network to deliver that. They can't deliver you 1080p. And if they could, why is it 480? And then that's the scary part. Why is it limited?
For those of you listening at home, I am sitting here in contemplation of what Todd is saying. So those of you watching the show can see I've got my head tilted back.
That's the other thing too, is like, it's scary because it's good for some customers, but that doesn't make it the right thing to do.
Right. And I'm getting that. I think where I'm coming from, the problem you have with a person such as myself is I am just a content consumption machine.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that I can watch whatever I want, whenever I want for free is appealing.
Yeah. That is appealing, but see, here I am. I'm on AT&T. I have 60 gigs a month. I can watch more video than I want to do in the highest resolution on any of my devices, and I'm still not going to use up that 60 gigs just because that's how much video I watch. And I have a hard time believing there's a large percentage of people out there that would consume that much data. In fact, I think the average smartphone user as of a year or so ago was like 3 gigs a month. So now you're tossing in 480p video, but they say it takes up 3 times less data or something like that. I mean, this doesn't make any sense to me. Just get a huge bucket of data on another carrier and get all the data you want. And I'm not paying out the wazoo either. I have 4 lines and we're each paying $64. So that's comparable to T-Mobile's prices. I mean, unless you look at their new $140 whatever option for 4.
Well, playing devil's advocate, the formerly 3 gig per month plan, which is now 6 gigs,
mm-hmm.
is the first level at which binge on kicks in.
Right.
So for somebody who is on a budget, say a student or, somebody with a limited income, however you want to view it, this could give them the opportunity. They can't afford that bigger data bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So I can, boy, this is a stickier situation than I originally thought.
It's good for them, but if T-Mobile's network is so good, why are you giving them 480p video? Why can't you just give them 1080? That's what my point is.
But at the same time, it's kind of like saying a restaurant. Okay, for instance, my father's a veteran. I right before the show, I emailed him a list of all the restaurants giving free food to veterans today.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are giving limited menus or a set menu. He wouldn't be able to choose what he wanted. Well, why aren't you giving me your most expensive dish?
Right.
I think the problem is I don't see truly nefarious motivation behind this move.
Oh, I don't think it's nefarious.
And so I don't feel like T-Mobile sat around going, "Well, just give them 480p, and then they'll want to pay us more."
I do think it's closer to that in regards to business strategy than it is to, yay, we're the best out there, and consumers love us, and we love consumers the way they'd have you believe. It's not like that.
You mean Laguerre isn't completely sincere in everything he says on stage?
Right. Well, I think that needs to be said. I don't buy that, for a minute. Sure, it's nice to have these streaming, free plans, but for him to go on stage and say, people like me saying I'm throwing away money because I'm not using all my data, that doesn't make any sense at all to me. What's an unlimited subscriber, who uses 2 gigs doing? And then what happens when T-Mobile yells at the people that are trying to consume 2 terabytes? Like, there's a middle ground. That's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. And I would never, I can't imagine paying T-Mobile a monthly bill and then getting 480p video content all the time. And then when I wanted 1080p, I'd have to honestly go to their web portal or call them up and say, hey, give me the better stuff. That's crazy.
You can, just to be fair, you can also use the T-Mobile app.
Or the app. But that's crazy. I would never. I'd rather have the best stuff I can get all the time. And then, when I hit my cap, then they switch on to 480, and then it's unlimited for us.
Well, here's the fun part of this whole argument. I have unlimited data with T-Mobile, so it doesn't even impact me.
Yeah.
I do like the idea that it also works on tethering, because I do tether my iPad to my phone every so often. The fact that they're doubling my tethering bucket, and for unlimited customers, we are getting a doubling of our tethering bucket, and this won't count against the tethering bucket. So that is somewhat appealing.
Yeah. I think it's appealing. I just think everybody needs to step back a little bit and think about what's actually happening as opposed to cheering T-Mobile, because I think it's slightly dangerous.
Oh, that's a good point. I folks, this is a good example of Todd and I do not Todd and I have like a 30-second discussion. What topics do you want to hit? Okay. And that's the entire preamble to us getting ready for the show.
Mm-hmm.
But so it is interesting. You've given me some definite things to think about, Todd. There's a first time for everything.
Nice.
And such a Mahal asking, would you use T-Mobile's binge on? I don't see why not. It's there. Todd does have a good point. It's semi-annoying to have to go in and flip a switch. I do like the fact that binge on automatically suspends if it detects Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're at home, you're not going to have to worry about every time going into the app and flipping the switch yourself. So I don't know. It's a lot to think about.
I'm just going to be so upset if some form of this trickles over to AT&T, where right now, I have whatever I want. I buy 60 gigs of data a month. It's not expensive. I hope it doesn't mess with my stuff. T-Mobile, do whatever you want.
I hope it messes with you horribly. But let's see here. Oh, we got a lot of questions that came in, so let's dive into some of them here. From Ariel Palatnik, what will be after Fallout 4? My assumption would be Fallout 5.
Yeah, that's my guess too.
I honestly, Ariel, I don't mean to make fun of you. I don't quite understand the question. I would assume Fallout 5. You know. From Benjamin McDonald, pure bang for buck, OnePlus X versus OnePlus One. Remember NFC. Well, at this point, I would say the OnePlus X.
Yeah.
You know, the OnePlus One's already a year old. I feel that the company has worked out some of the issues they had with the OnePlus One, because let's face it, that phone was not perfect.
Yeah.
It was a great phone, but it was not perfect. I honestly, I don't think I would even consider the OnePlus One at this stage.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. And I know the OnePlus X has older hardware in it too, like Snapdragon 801. I'd probably go with that. And I know you're saying remember NFC, but well, let's be honest, I wouldn't go with either one of them. But I haven't used the OnePlus X, and for $250, it seems pretty compelling. But that's the reason I'd buy it, is because I haven't used it. That's probably the only reason.
Here's a hot button question from Jeff K. I almost called you JFK. Sorry about that. From Jeff K. So now that the 6P bending seems, well, legit, should I return my device? Especially with the back screen supposedly spiderwebbing, I'm really considering sending it back and waiting for the LG G5 because I'm probably an idiot. No, I don't think you're an idiot, Jeff. I think you're a conscientious, consumer. I have some real problems with the spiderwebbing issue. Kind of like last week, I believe it was last week, you and I, Todd, were discussing the silliness of the bending.
Mm-hmm.
But the spider webbing to me is a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Simply because it does not appear to be happening to any phone prior to it being in the consumer's hands.
Right.
I've not seen any reports of it being spider webbed upon opening the pack, opening the device. I'm suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, that's a tough question.
I think what you need to do is try to get insurance on the phone if you don't have it already, and stick with the 6P. I mean, I haven't used it that much, but I think it's been largely reported to be one of the best Android phones out there. We loved it in our review. I mean, I wouldn't worry about things that seem to be affecting a small percentage of users and can hopefully be fixed through a warranty of some sort. I'm not saying, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate if you have like a device replacement, then you got to pay $100. That's, annoying for a brand new phone. But I would personally, if I own the 6P, just stick it out. And who knows when the G5's certainly coming and what it's going to feature and stuff like that. And even when you think about Nexus devices too, the nice thing is, I mean, Sean, you just bought the Nexus 6, and that's still a great phone. Here we are a year later, and the successor's already out. So, you're going to get some nice time with the 6P, assuming it doesn't spiderweb or anything like that.
No, I'm really happy with the 6 I just bought. Very happy with it.
I don't know if it makes you feel any better. I didn't buy the 6P, but if I did, I'd probably not have returned it by now. Just kind of rare.
Yeah, Todd not return something, that would be a miracle.
Yeah.
From Sachin Bahal, what do each of you guys have in your cell phone plans? Well, like I just said, I have 2 lines with T-Mobile. I have my personal line, which is unlimited, and then I have my work phone, which is, I think, 10 gigs a month. It's not that heavy. So, if I need to look something up on it, while I call the one phone my personal phone, it's more about the phone number. I use it for almost all the data when I'm out and about, since it's unlimited. But Todd, what sort of plans do you have?
I have AT&T for 2 of my personal lines, and then I have 2 family lines on it as well. And again, we share this bucket of data that T-Mobile loves to bash. I have no problem with it. I mean, 60 gigs is a lot of data for 4 people.
Yeah, every time I hear someone say bucket of data, I just immediately in my head go bucket of chicken.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bucket of chicken. It's
just not as tasty.
Pieces of chicken. And I really like it. So, I see these things. That's why I guess it's hard for me too, because I'm like the outsider, So like if somebody is on T-Mobile and they're, and every month they're kind of going over their data and all this stuff, and they're like, and they really have these overage problems that T-Mobile, says is affecting millions of people out there, then this is great. But, I think my breakdown monthly for 4 lines is like $60 a person. And I have 2 lines, so mine's like 120. I have access to the 60 gigs, and I don't have to worry about overages or anything like that. And I use my phones a lot, so I think there's two sides to these stories.
I just wish we didn't have to have so many lines.
Yeah.
It's so much fun going through customs in England because they have this rule about every item has to be charged so that it can be turned on if they request it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm standing there, going through the security line. I'm pulling out all these phones.
Yeah. Like 6 phones.
People love me in the security line. But oh, good grief. Let's see here. We got some other questions. From Jeff K. How does T-Mobile tell which data is streaming videos? What if I happen to stream it on the browser? Well, first off, the video is currently limited to, what was it, 24 services?
Yeah, 24 services.
So those services have identifiers in their files that will trigger, the binge on sensors. So if you're on YouTube, yes, it will be able to tell it's a video, but it will also tell it's not one of those 24 providers. Mm-hmm. So, and I have a feeling in most cases, it's things like Netflix, Vudu, Hulu, those are running apps. So that'll be super easy for them to be able to tell. Mm-hmm. From Alex Walters, can I make you some YouTube banners and art? Sure, send them over. As you can see, my Twitter name is right there on the screen at Sean Piani. So feel free to post them somewhere and send me a link. Let's see here. From Brazen Franco, isn't that what the internet fast lane was all about? How can they do that with the new FCC ruling?
Yeah.
That is a big question, because
they say they can do it because everybody's able to participate. So they're not saying like, that's these.
That's true. And they're not, as they said yesterday, which we're going on their word, that the companies are not paying for access to binge on.
Right.
That's the difference between this and the fast lane, because the fast lane was pay for that access. So, and while everyone chuckled at somebody getting up and asking about could porn companies join binge on, that was a very legitimate question.
Yeah. It's like the top streamed services, right?
Exactly. So if Laguerre had sat up there and said, no, we're not going to let porn, that would have caused a problem. So yeah, by the fact that it's binge on is open to any video provider, that changes things quite a bit for the fast lane situation.
But I think, Breslin, you bring up a point that I was trying to make too, is that this opens up the fast lane possibility, so that T-Mobile could say, hey, pay $2 and you get 1080p unlimited. Or if you think about it, we already do have the fast lane, right? Like that's the fast lane is the one that's consuming your data bucket. and the slow lane is the one that gives you unlimited. Like, sure, it's not the speeds, but it's the quality of the video. Like, that's kind of the problem here, is that it's being created in a very, consumers love us, we love consumers scary way. And before I'm just playing like we should be cautious cards here, because I think things like this happen before we know it. These fast lanes are going to be all over the place, but they're not going to be the fast lanes we thought they were. They just exist through, these kind of situations.
All right. I see your caution card, and I'm going to tap my mana and play. It's a free card. Anyway.
I don't know. It's our job to be critical, so that's why I'm being critical.
It is. It is.
In summary.
From Sachin Bahal, how would you guys feel about Google making its own smartphone, their own internals and everything? And we've got an article, I think that's already up about that. I think Google has a bad track record with making their own hardware. Like a really bad track record. I would be very hesitant to jump on board with them, only because of the track record. It could be the greatest phone ever, but how long are they going to support it? What sort of support are they going to offer? There's a lot of questions. And you look back at Google Glass, which is, it seems to me like Google gets really excited about something, and if it doesn't immediately take off, they lose interest super fast.
Yeah, they were like, oh, well, that was just a test, which I guess it was, but
yeah, Google seems to easily get bored.
Yeah.
And so putting my smartphone future in their hands would concern me.
I don't think it's necessary. I mean, you look at it, and I can see where it would make sense, right? You have Apple, you have Microsoft doing their Lumias now from Nokia's division, and then you have, Google, who's partnering the way Microsoft used to kind of closely with Nokia before it purchased that division. And I think it makes sense in regards to like Google selling its phone, but how is that going to be so much different from the Nexus program? I mean, I guess it's a way for them to make money directly if they're not making, like, I don't know who makes money in these situations with the Nexus, who it's bought through and what the margins are, but I think it seems to me to work better this way, at least for consumers. I don't know. Unless they're going to really acquire a chip maker and do the same kind of thing that Apple's done with A9, or they could do, the Microsoft way and just source chips from Qualcomm like Microsoft did with the Snapdragon 810. But Sachin, you're asking if they make the internals and everything, which just seems like way too much work for Google. For what? Like what's the benefit versus what they're already doing now?
Well, speaking of Qualcomm, we have a question from Brazen Franco. Should I be concerned about my future purchase of the V10 now that Qualcomm announced Snapdragon 820? No.
No, I actually really like the V10. I got to do some coverage on that probably after the BlackBerry. But it's a nice phone. It's just it feels to me like a better built G4.
The same problem happens with all technology. It's just like, your car starts to lose value the second you drive it off the lot.
Yeah.
The second you purchase a phone or a tablet, you're on the countdown clock to the next upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to finally at some point go, this is where I'm pulling the trigger.
Right. Like, yeah, exactly. That's why, people like to get angry and say like, oh, new iPhone is crap. You can't do anything with it. There is one thing about buying a new iPhone. There's not going to be another one for another year.
Yeah.
And like, there's some redeeming quality to that versus I can feel exactly what you're saying, Bresnan. You're like, oh, like this is an awesome phone, but in 2 months, there's going to be another one. And that's the problem. I mean, it's a problem in the sense for us as buyers. It's actually really exciting and awesome in every other regard. But it is. It's just like, oh, man, like, I just bought that. And now this is out. And that's it's a constant.
I thought of this just now. I brought it up briefly before. Like whenever I go in a carrier store, it always amazes me to hear the conversations. Excuse me. I wonder if we should do like a undercover investigation one time where one of us just goes and sits in a carrier store for an entire day.
And what?
And just listen.
Tries not to get kicked out.
Well, no, of course, get the permission of the the store. I would love to hear exactly what consumers are actually discussing because, Brazen, you bring up a very valid point about, okay, the Snapdragon 820 has been announced. How does that impact your purchase? But there are people that are going to walk into a carrier store and they'll buy the V10 the day before the V11 comes out because they have no idea.
Right.
And there's a certain amount of, I would love to be that person.
Just fly on the wall.
Yeah, just walk in and go, yeah, that looks like a good phone.
Yeah, it's like me buying a car, probably. I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah, I true story. I've actually never bought a car.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't. Well, I have used cars, not new cars.
Well, no, not even used cars. I have never had anything but hand-me-downs.
So, I mean, there are car owners out there that would be like, "Oh man, you have the Snapdragon 800 in your car." Engines.
Sure. And the other thing with things like the Snapdragon 820, anytime a new chip comes out, how long does it take the app developers to take full advantage of that new chip?
Yeah, I think they were saying with like the iPhones, for example, that it's like a year before it's like worth it for developers to actually take advantage of the chip because there aren't that many like out there in the wild. I mean, when you look at it, for example, we just covered the iPad 2 as the most popular iPad still. Not the iPad Air 2, but the iPad 2. What's up? Sean's laughing everywhere.
It's a question that I'll pull up next.
Okay. So like so that's my point, is that you have these awesome processors out there, and actually you're just saying it's true. It's like developers aren't really taking advantage always of these things because their user base isn't on that fastest processor. So yes, there are a couple of games and stuff that really push the limits, but when you look at, like I was just saying, the most popular iPad's the iPad 2. Which is why I wrote the headline. That's why there's no iPad Air 3. Yeah, and it shows that people aren't upgrading. So I think it is like this year-long thing where, like, sure, it's a Snapdragon 820, but what can you really take advantage of? And the immediate answer is, things like Quick Charge 3.0, things like, the support for, I think it's up to 23 megapixel cameras, faster LTE radios, that kind of stuff you'll see immediately as phone makers ship the newest phones. But in terms of what you're taking advantage of in power usage of apps, that takes a while.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the question that made me start laughing. Sorry about that, Todd. From Jeff K. Why is Todd's place so nice, but you look like you're stuck in the back of a walk-in closet?
Is my place nice?
Someday I will clean that. What is behind the sheet, folks, for new viewers of the show, are some shelves, and also an old back issue comic book rack from when I had my comic book store. Neither of them are pretty; they're disorganized, and so I just threw the sheet up there to cover them up, so you didn't have to see the ugly shelving units. Someday I will sit down and clean all that up and remove the sheet so everyone can stop thinking that it's where I keep dead bodies. Moving on to Jeff's question. Serious question. What's in your crosshairs for Black Friday? I see sales popping up left and right. Well, I'm in an unusual situation in that I will be landing in Manchester, England at
lucky.
Yeah, on Black Friday. But I gotta say, when we did that, when you and I were looking over that Best Buy Black Friday ad yesterday, wow, there's some good deals.
Yeah, I'm tempted by the Chromebooks and TVs just because I want this right here is a 32-inch TV. It's just a cheapo one, and I want another cheapo one on my desk.
There's going to be $100 Chromebook at Best Buy on Black Friday. I personally love Chromebooks. I have a Chromebox. I have a couple Chromebooks. I love them. No, I'm never going to do any heavy lifting with them. But if I just need to jump on for half a second and do one thing, they're on there. I get it done and I'm done. It's great. And for $100, that's crazy. I did find it hilarious that Best Buy is marking down the $50 Amazon Fire tablet to $35.
I know, that was awesome. $35. And you said it's a nice tablet, right?
I have it. I do have the $50 tablet. I like it. it's not, I mean, no, it's no iPad, it's no, ASUS Transformer or whatever. It's just a
Right.
nice little tablet. If you just want to check your email or do a little web surfing in bed or, whatever, for $50, it's a great little deal. For 35, it's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd buy them and just toss them out like party gifts, go into the club and make it rain.
Yeah, it's crazy. You can get 10 for $350, which is like the starting price of an iPad mini, I think. An older one, maybe.
I know. Well, think about it. Right now you can get 6 for the price of 5 over at Amazon, so that's $250.
Yeah.
So you can buy 6 of them through this deal for, what is that? That's $210.
That's crazy.
It's not. I just like the idea of being in the club making it rain with tablets.
Yeah, tablets.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I think there's going to be a lot of great deals for Black Friday. I found this really funny. I just read an article yesterday. Asda, which is a chain in the UK, which is actually Walmart, just under a different name, they kind of brought the concept of Black Friday to England. They had some problems last year with the Black Friday sales with, people being stupid. So this year, there's all these companies announcing their Black Friday sales, and Asda's gone, nope, we're done. No,
not dealing with that headache.
Nope, Asda's out of the Black Friday game.
That's
so
awesome.
They infected the entire country with this concept, and they've dropped out.
It's crazy. I mean, Jeff K, one of the things we were, there's like all these deals, but every year we talk about like the TVs look awesome, but then they have like 1 HDMI port, right? Or like 2, which 2 is fine, for me. I could deal with 2. 1, not so much. And then like they're missing features and stuff, or there's like 3 in stock. So if there's stock, that's what I'm going after. But if there's not, then.
Yeah, and that's the problem. So many of these times, they're like, and you read down the fine print, limited quantity of 2 per store location.
Yeah. Remember when Amazon had that sale? We were all like ready to go on something that we ran
Prime Day.
Too. Yeah, Prime Day. And it was clear there were like 10 units.
Yeah. Like, I know. It was
for the internet.
No, and the thing I had some knowledge of items that were coming up. And I checked on one item, and in the morning, how Amazon has that thing like 8 left in stock.
Oh yeah.
I checked one item, and it was like 6 left in stock, and like an hour before it was supposed to start, the message disappeared.
Oh wow!
I was like, aha.
So there really was no stock. So that's the problem with these sales too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy, the time has flown by today.
Wow.
Let's get one more question in, and then we'll do 2 more questions because I want to get to this one on a personal level. From Sachin Bahal, off topic. Did any of you guys watch Mystery Science Theater 3000? What do you think of the Kickstarter? Are you going to back it? I was a huge Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan. The last vacation I took before I joined TechnoBuffalo was in 1996, and that was to go up to Minneapolis on Labor Day weekend for the Convention-Conorama 2 Electric Boogaloo, which was the MST3K convention. And because I had a press pass, I actually got to tour the sets and stand up on the Satellite of Love. It was awesome. Huge fan of the show. Yes, I backed the Kickstarter. Not going to say how much, but no, it wasn't. I wasn't the $10,000 or $15,000 guy. But I did back the Kickstarter. Let's see here. We'll take one more, and then we'll get out of here for the day. Well, we have to end on this one. From Brisbane Franco. What'd you return this week, Todd? And where's John Q? Well, real quick, I'll say where John Q is.
Where's John Q?
John Q is working. I cannot customer.io. That's where he works now. And he's designed, he does a lot of stuff for him, but he's designed this really cute little pigeon mascot that he has.
Oh, I saw that on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. Named Amy, who he's
the
putting into all
page or something, or
yeah, he puts them in.
Or he just did a new one. Yeah.
Oh, he's learning animation now, so now he's got Amy walking places.
That's what I saw.
But anyway, John Q is good. I still talk with John Q. Great guy. We love him.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you return this week, Todd?
Well, Preston, I don't know if you were here last week when I returned the Apple TV because I didn't have the question. I didn't return anything yet. However, one BlackBerry is going back. We have a review unit. We ordered one direct from BlackBerry, and then I went to AT&T and bought one because we need it sooner than the one that's shipping and still hasn't shipped. So one of them will go back. That's the one that's going.
All right. Well, anyway, sorry we did not get to everyone's questions. I'm going to take one more because this guy, it looks like he is desperate for information here. From TuneKit, does iOS updates for the older phones really help, or are the updates just for show? Because even the iPhone 4S, is getting the latest update, unlike the Samsung I'm using, forgotten after 2 years. And I doubt my GS4 is getting Android M. That's a good question.
Sometimes the iOS updates actually slow things down, but they do the new features, but not all the new features. And so I don't know. It's nice that Apple, doesn't forget about devices as quickly as other manufacturers. And I think I share the frustrations with Android devices, not getting updates as quickly as others.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. It's amazing how fast some of the Android manufacturers forget their phones.
Yeah, that's the thing that's troubling. And I like that Apple doesn't do that. But on the other hand, just because you get the update doesn't make everything better.
All right, folks. Well, that is going to bring this week's episode to a close. Again, we will be here next week. The week after that's questionable, and the week after that, we're definitely gone. But we'll keep you abreast of the situation. As always, we do appreciate you joining us. You can find us on the iTunes store by searching for the TechnoBuffalo Show, and we do appreciate if you rate and review us. That does help out the show. You can also find us on Pocket Casts. You can subscribe via RSS feed, or you can find us on the Stitcher app, which means you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. Until next time, I'm Sean Ani. I'm the editor-in-chief of TechnoBuffalo. I've been joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everybody.
And we'll see you all here next week. Till then, take it easy. Bye-bye.